Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We're back with another In Context. Today is February 22nd, 2026. We are in a balance, kind of stalemate here. The US looks like they're about to attack Iran. They keep ramping up. They keep ramping up. Trump's talk is getting bigger and bigger. So I figured today is a good idea to revisit the topic Iran, even though we discussed it last time, because we need to go a little deeper. I personally am convinced they're going to attack them. I feel like this is Iraq 2.0 with the build-up and the rhetoric. And I want to dive deeper into that if we may.
So there are echoes of the U.S. attack on Iraq. The echoes are deliberate. The U.S. is threatening of another Iraq, and that's why these echoes are both by the U.S. government instigating them and by the media reacting to that. I don't think that is on the cards. I still think that what the US is looking for is to limit Iran's field of play and to create some red lines and influence between them and Israel, and to create some rules of play where Israel can attack but Iran cannot respond. I don't think that is attainable. Meaning, the U.S. wants the government of Iran to essentially go naked, and the government of Iran has finally gotten the message that if they give him that, there is nothing to prevent him from tomorrow coming and asking for more, and next day coming and asking for more and more and more. So unless he gives them guarantees, and it's not conceivable how he can give them guarantees, they're not willing to give him substantive concessions. It is hard to believe that Trump can give them guarantees because Trump has double-crossed Iran many times in 2017 when he canceled the agreement, just like that. Last year when he attacked them while negotiating. So I don't see how, even if Trump wants to give them guarantees, he can. Trump doesn't want them to give them guarantees. Doesn't want to give them guarantees because the way Trump runs U.S. foreign policy is about creating the image of invincibility. It's about aggrandizement. It's about creating this imperial order, the image of imperial order, even if it was not the fact. To his charlatan mind, image is fact, and people need to remember that. So I don't see him giving them these guarantees, and lacking them, I don't see Iran giving him serious concessions. So the most likely outcome, in my opinion, is Iran giving him token concessions on ceasing uranium enrichment, increased international, that is, Western inspections through the IAEA, shipping some of the enriched uranium at least to Russia, things like that.
Didn't they offer exactly what you described a couple of days ago?
They didn't offer to cease enrichment. They offered to reduce enrichment.
Reduce, correct.
They didn't offer to ship enriched uranium outside. They offered inspections. So some of that has been offered, some of that has not been. Iran is saying that it's going to deliver a complete package sometime in the coming week. And the US is wondering today, Whitehouse was wondering, why is Iran not capitulating? Well, I cracked the whip. Why is my slave not, coming down and prostrating? It's these colonialists are really sick. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's actually a good point. So since I think the US is saying or sensing that the slaves are not like accepting or not, like they're kind of shocked about why the slave is not following the complete orders, do you think the US is trying to deliberately echo those threats to instill fear, or is it more that they might have to actually seriously enforce what they're saying for them to follow?
So they are. This is the way Trump negotiates, through gunboat policy, and it is a very good thing for humanity because it's destroying the post-World War II colonial order. The post-World War II colonial order committed all of these crimes he's committing right now, but under nice-looking words and under a nice-looking veneer of United Nations and all of that rubbish about international order and international law and all of these lies. right now he's dispensing with them because he thinks that makes the US look more invincible, more imperial, stronger. That is not true, but it's a good thing for humanity that he's miscalculating. Anyway, so back to the question of Iran. So as I'm saying, I don't see that coming to an agreement, real agreement. Rather, what it would come to probably is some sort of contrived concessions from Iran that does not meet the American demands. And in return, the US will make the difference by launching a limited attack on Iran rather than what it's threatening, which is major Iraq-style attack to bring down the regime. The reason I say that is the way the US government under this clown has been operating is about creating the image of invincibility. Getting stuck in a quagmire is not invincibility. Iran is much larger than Iraq, 3 times larger than Iraq. Iran is more complicated than Iraq. The US doesn't have as much assets in Iran as it had in Iraq. When the US invaded Iraq in 2003, it has been occupying 1/3 of it for the last 12 years. These are very different things. And Iran is not as weak as Iran. Yes, this is a brittle regime and its strength is not as much as people perceive it because it's brittle, but it's not as brittle as Saddam was. Okay, so I don't see an upside for the US attacking Iran. There is actually a lot of downside. If the US attacks Iran, it doesn't have an alternative. The central government that is running now under the flag of Islam, if it collapses, any central government, if a central government appears, which is not a given, is going to be weak, is not going to be able to enforce the Persian nationalist control over a lot of other nationalities. So the nation state fiction would splinter. If you take off the veneer of Islam, you have Persian nationalists exercising control over Blush, Turks, Arabs, and Kurds. And if you believe that your Persian nationalist nonsense, Kafir nonsense is great and beautiful, then ours is even greater and beautiful, more beautiful, nothing doing. And what that would do is create something similar to what we have in Ethiopia. Amhara try to control a large area that they are not a majority in. And that reduces the whole internal and external policy into how to maintain this rickety structure going on. Anyway, so back to Iran. Well, a weak central government is not something the US would want in Iran. Because that means the colonial overseer, the US, doesn't have someone now to do their bidding in Iran. If the government is weak and cannot control assuming you even get a government, which is not a given, because that Israeli Shah doesn't have a serious following in Iran. And the people who are willing to work with him are the atheist urban middle class. And even if you go Persian nationalism, a lot of the countryside is Muslim and hate these guys. And they have a long and ignominious history of the Pahlavis control over Iran from 21 to 79 to remember. They haven't forgotten that. So assuming even you can get a weak central government, well, the colonial master won't have anyone who can do their bidding. The current government is strong and can do bidding, meaning when it's threatened, it does stuff. And if the US does the limited attack to make the difference between the demands and what they're going to get, it's going to not respond because it will calculate that, well, if it's limited, we'll live to fight another day.
Like they did already.
Yeah, okay. So like last year. So yes, that might be it. So I think this boot of or repeat of the fight is just a repeat of the fight. There is no strategic goals there. It's tactical. And it's a result of the imperial success in Venezuela. And it's also the only strategic thing that it achieves is the US is asserting a new international order, gunboat international order, back to the late 19th century. We have the gunboats and you will do what we want or we'll bomb you to smithereens. That's the only strategic goal it achieves. It doesn't make sense to try to establish that as a fact on the ground through attacking Denmark, because that doesn't make sense from a Western colonial perspective. These are humans, so we go and do it to these subhumans. That's about it. But as I was saying, the US has no interest in bringing down the central government. Bring down central government has other, even more serious consequences. It would leave Israel completely unbound. That is not something in and of itself that the US hates, but it's something alarming to it, because when Israel is unbound, it just goes into adventures and tries to bite more than can chew, and that means the US has to interfere to protect it. That is colonial investment the US is trying to reduce so it can do other things to China. So this a lot of the logic of the US giving Israel leeway in the Middle East, of trying to constrain Iran, is about reducing the investment in political capital and military capital and the whole colonial project on the Middle East, since it's backwaters and it's under control. So leaving Israel completely unbound is not something good for US colonial policy, because as I was saying, that means they would have to invest more to protect it from its own doings. And Israel calculates that it can do adventures because there is a backstop. The US will come and help it. So it will do that deliberately. So they know it's going to come. It would also mean stabilizing Pakistan, stabilizing Afghanistan, stabilizing Iraq. Pakistan and Iraq are US colonies. The US does not want its colonies stabilized.
What do you mean by that?
The way the US runs its colonies is by keeping them always off balance and in need for US help and support. So the way the Iraq colony has been created is by creating an deliberately unstable regime, where Shia try to overlord it over other Muslims. Other Muslims are split into Arab and Kurds so that they are a minority. So all three are minorities, and all three are fighting out over existence. And the thieves who run the state for the US are fighting over who of them eats more out of the resources. And all of them have to go back to the US as a referee. Same thing in Pakistan. So it's not to the US interest to stabilize Iraq or to stabilize Pakistan.
The jump I see you're making is, how can, if regime changes on the table, let's assume that for a second, like they miscalculate, they go in and they actually wreck it enough where, oh, we messed up, we crossed the line, and the central government does collapse. That could happen, by the way. I know they're calculating the missiles, but let's assume for a second.
I don't think so. You know, even this business, they keep saying, well, we can kill Khamenei. Yes, they can kill Khamenei. They can kill Khamenei's son. But Khamenei's son is not being prepared to take over after his father. That is Western media. If you listen to Iranian media, that's not the case. And that wouldn't change much.
But how does a regime change in Iran make it stabilize Iraq? How does a fallen government in Iran stabilize Pakistan? I don't understand that jump.
So Pakistan and Iran destabilize each other through supporting each other's blush. Okay. So right now, for example, you have a serious civil strife in Baluchistan on both sides, thanks to each other's nasty plots. In Iraq, a lot of the US agents in Iraq have a double face. They work for Iran and the US at once. This faction will be weakened right there. And that could actually reduce the instability in Iraq.
Okay, I see it.
Most of the brazenly sectarian actors in Iraq are Iran's guys who also work for the US. Essentially, they work in the morning in the government offices where they steal for the US. At night, when they call themselves the Islamic Resistance, they work for Iran. Same guys. Literally, same guys. I'm not being allegoric.
Okay, now I see what you mean by US interests. Okay.
So a lot, as I was saying, a lot of this is theater. And a lot of US foreign policy right now is theater. Trump and his minions, to their minds, they are doing great imperial things. They are doing great harmful things to the empire, which is good for humanity.
I want to say something. You know how in the 90s, I mean the 80s, the Soviet Union, US, it was kind of like a Cold War. They were trying to quote fear, like, to try to show who has stronger weaponry. So do you think like Trump is trying to use similar tactic to try to impose fear, right? And say we could like colonial imperialism upon the Iran and others, but in this case Iran, where say like we're going to do this, but knowing, but then realize that Iran and others slowly will sense that they probably won't go through. Like they'll probably bond them, or a couple of days or a couple of weeks, but not enough to like or go further than that. So do you feel like the people are catching up to sense that, hey, these are just threats that are being made, not something, because they know that they don't want to destabilize and decentralize government, so they know they won't go beyond certain limits. So then they don't give them the concessions they want, or they'll verbally give it to them, but they go on with what they want to do.
So what you're saying, let me rephrase what you're saying. What you're saying is Iran figures that a lot of this is show, and they have nothing to gain by prostrating,
Correct.
right? I think that's what the Iranian government is calculating. That's why it's moving slowly. Okay. So I think, but that's why I'm saying a lot of this is theater. Okay. The Iranian government is Machiavellian. It's quite willing to sell anything to live another day. But I think they have figured out that selling everything wouldn't get them very far. That's why they are really not willing to completely prostrate, because they see that this is more harmful than actually taking a stand. Not even pretending that they are selling everything, because they figure that, well, actually it's not good. It's not good negotiating process.
Makes sense. Okay, I think we got it.